You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Big Guy Sports Radio Show. Your home for New York sports.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up with Football in New York, presented by the Big Guy Sports Radio Network, your home for New York sports, here on Sunday, July 19th, 2020, where for those of you who live in the New York, New Jersey area, you should be prepared because it's going to be 99 degrees out today with humidity 106. So if anybody needs me today, I will be inside where the air conditioner keeps me warm. I am here, your host, Jim, with the co-host, Mac and Matt. Guys, how are you doing today?
Well, listen, every Sunday morning before the show, I turn on this program. It's called I Survived. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it.
I have.
But it's a great show that shows people that are, that have come into some kind of tragedy, whether they've been, on a sinking boat or in a mine where the mine shaft crashes, or they're being attacked by some crazy man or some crazy woman. And it's an unbelievable show that shows how far people can go to come out of these situations unscathed. It's very inspirational. Mm-hmm. So I watch it every Sunday morning, and it's an incredible show that kind of inspires me that, things aren't as bad as we think they are. We're not facing death. So that's what I did this morning.
For yourself. I'm a mistake away from a cardiac arrest, but, So who survived yesterday then?
Today there was a guy that had his throat cut open, this older woman who was beaten by a savage worker at the church. So those were the two big stories I watched today. I mean, this older woman had her fingers broke. She was cut from her neck. She was slammed around, and almost her neck was almost broken. They put her in a trunk, and by the grace of God, I guess someone found her before she died. So
holy hell! All right, on a chippier note, Matt, for you.
Well, I'm not going to go quite as dark as Mac does on a Sunday morning. I woke up and had me some coffee and played with my dog a little bit. And told my girl to have a great couple hours without me because I'm sure she's getting tired of me being around her before she has this baby right now. Mm. So we're just going to talk about some football. I'm going to leave her alone for a little while.
Is she up this early? She could sleep in, right?
She gets up, man. Listen, she gets up and she makes my coffee, and she helps me take care of the dog, and she makes sure I have something to eat. She takes good care of me, so I'm good to go.
No, I'd make you make your own coffee.
Yeah, she loves it. She finally figured it out, man. We're good to go.
Sounds like to me like Mac needs to go to church. So
listen, Matty Ice here has a keeper there. You can hold on to that woman.
Yeah.
In the morning, and made him coffee and all types of others. Absolutely. Okay, so as much as I'm sure people want to hear about, our television programs, we'll get right into Sports Day. And how can you not start the week yet? And we're coming in a day after baseball finally started, which we'll get more into during the week about the cardboard cutouts, which are the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And the noise was just, I can't even tell you in the 2 innings that I watched how bad the little button they hit that puts noise out when you get a single is. But we'll get into that.
It sounds like a disgruntled Met there, fan, Matty. What do you think?
Sounds like it. It sounds like it.
Practice results mean nothing to me.
Practice.
But I wanted to watch a couple innings to figure out how I'm going to feel watching it with no fans and what it's going to sound like and this and that. And it is weird. It's very, very weird. The cardboard cutouts are terrible, and the sound noise they play where it's like, it's like, oh man, I don't know.
Sound good.
I can imagine, Matty. I can imagine every time the Yankees got hit, that came out.
Well, the Mets were home, so they didn't play any crowd noise when the Yankees did something, and
so it was quiet. It was very quiet then.
And also, I didn't get close to the runs because I only watched the first 2 innings, so it was just 1-0. I didn't see anything else that happened, but it was like a Met got a hit to lead off. Right. I'm like, the hell? And
That's horrible.
Players on the field were like giggling, like even
right.
couldn't buy it, you know? So, but we'll get into that this week. You can't start a football show, I don't think, if you don't touch base on what's going on with the Redskins right now. And I don't even know. I don't understand how this just got so out of control so fast. I mean, this went from a simple naming issue to blown into a huge sexual harassment. The coaches going to parties and, you know, being able to mess around with the cheerleaders and other people. The cheerleaders basically, you know, as basically are escorts, you know, if you want to say, are forced to be. I don't know how the cheerleaders stayed quiet this whole time. You see reports of Jay Gruden's messing with one of them, and then one of them's messing with one of the football players, and then he benches the football player. Like, and you're like, wait, what? Now we're throwing games away because you're both sleeping with the same cheerleader, and supposedly the guy they benched was the guy that was one of the linemen or something, and that was the day that Alex Smith got his leg broken because the lineman was there. This is just, and he could, from the position that this lineman was supposed to play, this is, Mac, I don't even know where to begin. And then on top of it, they're talking about the owner. He's going to be staying. So can you explain this to me? I mean, how does this stay quiet for so long?
Well, from kind of a personal input and kind of from about the Redskins by themselves. You know, I have a Twitter page where I just bother all the NFC East teams. I bother the Cowgirls. I bother the Eagles. And I'll say the name, the Redskins. I bother them too. And about 2 days ago, I tweeted these hashtag groups that are the Redskins, the name change, the renaming of the Redskins homepage themselves. And I told them that this name change was going to be the least of their worries. And I got a bunch of comments back. I let them have their way. But from the people that I know now, Jim, some people behind the scenes at certain places because of what I do for the show, I heard there was going to be a huge bombshell that was going to be broke about the organization. I heard it 3 days ago, and I told them the least of your worries is whether you call them the Redskins or the Red Tails or whatever you want to call them. And they kind of got upset with me. And I'm going to tell you something about Daniel Snyder. Daniel Snyder is the worst owner in the league. He's all over that team. He meddles in the team constantly, and he can't run his organization. He calls down behind a coach's back, tells a player he's going to sit down without even telling the coach. He fires a Super Bowl champion coach, Joe Gibbs, even though he had a winning season. He has his new coach now out there like a spokesman. He can't even get in front of his own problems. He knew this was going on down at that organization. He's a poor man's Jerry Jones. I mean, at least Jerry Jones drafts people and signs people. This guy can't even get that together. I mean, this guy has his new coach, who is a great coach with the Carolina Panthers. Now he's coming on and has to talk about the organization's problem because this man is a coward. This man cannot even get out in front of his own team, in front of his own mess that he helped or let happen, and make a statement and say how bad this is and how terrible this thing is. And I'll tell you, I feel sorry for the Redskin fans. I go all the way back to Sonny Jurgensen, Billy Kilmer, all the way through from John Riggins and Joe Theismann, and this is the worst I've ever seen a team run by any owner. And it's a shame. It's just a shame.
Mm-hmm. Matt, I mean, what do you think about all this? I mean, this is some crazy stuff. Like, it seems like the Redskins were a fraternity over there. What I don't understand, and I can't seem to wrap my head around, is how did all of this with these girls stay quiet for this long?
It's called a non-disclosure agreement, Jim. That's what it's called. That's why 14 out of 15 of the women that are in this report requested anonymity because of fear of litigation and retribution. If it's fear of litigation, it's only from an NBA, or the Washington Redskins, Daniel Snyder, and that director of player personnel, Larry Michael, I think, is the radio guy. Alex Santos, the director of pro personnel, those two guys, they can sue for what is defamation or whatever it might be if nothing comes to wash for this. We understand how hard it is for people in the workplace that experience sexual harassment and things like that to prove it, essentially. It's a lot of he said, she said, and a lot of the time corporations and employers are going to take the side of the person being accused and say, hey, we have no hard proof. We can't do anything, and mainly because of the way the justice system works. Now, with that being said, I believe that this is going to be the start of basically what they called that Me Too movement, essentially going into the NFL. Now, you're going to see this pop up on other franchises now. This is not just going to stay within the Washington
global issue of the cheerleaders being used as basically.
Yep, absolutely. You think that was only happening in Washington, bro?
I was kind of hoping, yeah.
Yeah, that was
I would like to think it's not going on everywhere else.
Yep, but unfortunately, it likely is. This is a culture thing. This is a culture thing, and usually when you see it happening in one place in an organization, it's happening in multiple places. I hope it's just Washington. I hope it's just Washington, and I hope that it gets resolved with everyone needing the results to be happy and satisfied with justice being served. If this is the case, personally, I would be an owner that would vote to remove Daniel Snyder, but I don't.
Well, that brings up my other point that I want to bring up is so far publicly the reports have stated that the owners are not going to request that Daniel Snyder step down, because if you look at some of these reports, some of the worst stuff, they make it seem like Daniel Snyder was not involved in. So, it depends who you want to believe or where you want to go with on this one. But I have a big problem with, the owner of the team not knowing what's going on. So, and again, I'll start with you, Mac. I mean, how is it that he could survive something like this? This is worse than the Wilpons and
this leads to Maddie's point, Ice's point about maybe it's happening in other places. If these owners go ahead and vote this guy out, and the owners talk, management talks both ways on all teams. If this is going somewhere else and they vote to have him removed, maybe they're worried about this blowing up in their face too. So I'm thinking that what Ice is saying is very correct here, that it is happening in other places. These girls want to be famous. They want to be, they want to be models. They want to be actresses. There's hardly any cheerleader that goes out there just because they want to cheerlead on a professional level. I mean, I know on a youth level they do that.
They get
right. So they're doing this for more than just to cheerlead. And if something like this comes out, then they're going to have I don't want to say a black mark, but they're involved in a controversy. So besides the disclaimer, the disclosure, they're also thinking about their futures too. Now, there's no doubt that Snyder knew this was going on. At what level? I don't know. But I know they all talk, and all of at work, man, them rumors fly all the time. Everybody's business when you're at work, and there is no way he didn't know. So stop calling down on the field and telling players not to go in the game behind the coach's back and start taking care of your business.
Well, that brings another question, though, down to Matty Ice here, is that what responsibility in this? We talk about the owners and, Jay Gruden's he's out. So, I mean, he doesn't, he's not involved right now as from the inside. And you talk about all the people in the front office that are involved in this. What about the players' responsibility? Because players were it was also insinuated that players were sleeping with these girls, and they're not idiots. If these girls are being thrown to them to have fun with, they got to know deep down that's not right either. So what responsibility do some of the players have to take on this too? Is they're taking advantage of young women that, are not wanting to do that. So, I mean, where does the responsibility for everybody involved? You know what I mean? To where it even gets to a point that the coach wants to sit somebody because they're messing with the same girl.
Man, that is such a sticky situation, Jim. I don't understand how it could even come to this. If this is the case and players were knowingly participating in something like that and it was non-consensual in a way where, the organization very well could have said, hey, listen, do what you got to do for this guy to make him come to Washington or whatever it might be, or your professional career is over, And these girls have been working their whole lives to be cheerleaders. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily in the NFL, but, I mean, when they do this, they've done this from the time they were young, small children. This is their life. And so when this is compromised by someone in a position of power, a lot of the times they feel like they have no choice. So the fact of the matter is, if players were responsible and it's proven that they were involved, there should be action taken against the players. If ownership was involved, there should be action taken against ownership. If it comes out that Daniel Snyder knew what was going on, just like they did with Joe Paterno and the entire staff at Penn State and all that stuff who weren't involved with the whole Jerry Sandusky thing, guess what? You knew about it and you didn't do anything about it. So you're just as culpable and responsible for it. And that's just the way I see it. And it will come out to watch. You're VP of pro personnel and the head of your scouting department, your radio personality. You're not gonna not know if these guys have harassment cases against them. Everything is gonna come across Daniel Snyder's desk. All right, Jim?
Yeah. Well, and the other problem you got here too is that a lot more is still going to come out on this, because it's almost like the story broke and then you thought this was going to consume the news for the next few weeks, and then it halted like after 24 hours because Daniel Snyder just got multiple lawyers involved and just started contacting people. You have this NDA, shut up right now, blah, 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 blah. And it went from something that you thought you were going to see multiple articles day after day, because you know how these stories in sports will drag on and drag on. It just stopped because now it's all in the lawyer's hands. And it just goes to show you NDAs don't mean crap. Listen, if you make someone sign an NDA and that NDA has you keeping quiet a crime, it's coming out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are people that signed the non-disclosure agreements and that have come out and said it anyway. And all that really happens to them, they don't go to jail. I mean, they may get fined. They may have to pay something. So I think even if the women did sign this, they should come out, say what happened, and deal with whatever consequences there are. And I don't really think, Jim, there's going to be a lot of consequences.
Well, look, the NDAs were never made for stuff like this. An NDA was made for that. Somebody like you, for example, you sign an NDA with the Big Guy Sports Network, and then you go to work for Jill and Bob's Sports Network. You can't speak about how we do our business or run our finances or how we prepare for the show or get our guests. That's what an NDA was for. An NDA was not created so that people could go commit crimes or commit sexual assaults, and you can't speak about that.
We're all saying that these girls were forced into this. Let's wait till all the stories come out too. I mean, there might have been some girls that weren't forced into it. You know what I'm saying? They might have.
So everybody wants to be a celebrity or be with
right. Exactly.
I mean, you've seen some of the celebrities, the guys that play sports. Some of them are not exactly GQ models.
Exactly.
A lot of women just based on their.
So again, I don't, and I'm not saying that these things aren't true and that these things should be followed and prosecuted if it happened. I'm just saying we got to get a lot more information. And to me, again, Snyder is a coward. He should be out there in front of this, saying what happened, what he knew, and what he's going to do to stop this from happening again. I don't care about his lawyers calling anybody up. He's got to go out there and represent the Washington Redskins and make a comment and a serious plan of how this is going to change. That's what he's got to do.
Yeah, and he lawyered up, so that's kind of stuck where that is right now. And there's still a lot more that's going to come out at this, and we just don't know when it's going to come out. Because if you're the Redskins owner right now, the thing you want to see happen the most is you're just like, football season can't get here quick enough, so they could stop talking about him.
Yeah. So then they can start talking about why they're losing because of him.
And how do you play, guys? Guys, how do you play for a team like this when not only is there a name problem and that's in there, now we got this in there? How do you go out there and really want to play and represent this team right now? That's going to be a big problem. Not only are they untalented in a lot of positions, or I should say untalented because every professional football player is good at his thing, but they are not together as a team. They're not together as a unit going out there to fight. And now you got to deal with this. I mean, would any of you want to play for an organization like this?
No, I mean, you want to play for an organization that's run the right way and the one that wins. But so we'll have more on that. We'll get more into that over the next few weeks as things start to develop. Of course, if you have any calls, questions, concerns, you want to mention how you feel about the Redskins, the owner, you could either comment on Facebook. For us to see the comment, you got to do it through the Big Guy Sports page, or you could friend request me and you could do it there, or you could call in on the phone line 732-716-2606. The phone lines are always open, and we'd love to hear what you have to say about the Redskins. I give a little shout outs this morning. Good morning to Justin. Good morning to Arthur. Good morning to Ruben, who's from the NFL Battle Royal group. How you doing, Ruben? So like I said, if you have calls, questions, concerns, about anything we're going to talk about coming up, or you want to go back and talk about the Redskins, we can do that as well and hear what you have to say. So that's the news on the Redskins. As we get closer and closer to the start of the season, one thing that did happen yesterday is that the NFL released the training camp schedule for this season. So with that being said, if you take a look at that, everything's starting on time. So training camp's opening for all 32 teams. Veterans are set to report July 28th, which, I mean, guys, we're less than 2 weeks away, right? Rookies are next week. Rookies are on Tuesday. And then you got the quarterbacks and injured players on the 23rd. So everybody's getting ready to go. Everybody's showing up. Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans are the first two teams to have rookies that will show up. They will be the first two teams. All other 28 other teams can come on the Tuesday. I don't know why Kansas City and Houston gets a day early. Not that it matters much, but they get a day early. Maybe that's a prize or something. I have no idea. No more than 20 players would be allowed in at one time in the team facility. Now, that's the kind of thing that I laugh that off when I read that. Like, I mean, well, can we please just for 5 minutes get a touch of reality here? You're going to have 59 people on the damn sidelines on Sunday. What the hell does it matter if there's more than 20 in the team facility? Like, am I going to turn on TV, honestly? Am I going to turn on Sunday TV and I'm going to go and watch the Giants, and I'm going to see 20 of the team at the goal line, the other 20 at midfield, and the other 20 at the other goal line? Because if I see that, I mean, it just gets to a point where it gets ridiculous. I mean, these guys can tackle each other, sweat on each other. Offenses and defensive linemen are going to be blowing in each other's face. And unless you're giving them unless you're wearing a helmet where the players can't breathe at all, breath is getting in. I mean, what are we talking about here with all these restrictions? Or you want them to play football, let them play football. I'm sure the football players are saying the same thing. Like, listen, this is ridiculous. I mean, what are you going to do when imagine John Runyon and Michael Strahan with the battles they had going head to head and trying not to breathe in each other's faces. Are you kidding me? I mean, what is going on here, Max? So they're all coming up. They're still trying to work on the safety issues, but you got to be excited, first of all, before we get to safety issues. That's another topic for a whole nother segment. You got to be excited. We'll start with Matty Ice. Matty, I mean, everyone's reporting on time so far. So far, no hiccups.
We shall see. I mean, if they're reporting on time and if they got a plan in place, it's good, because I was initially under the impression that the NFL was kicking the can down the road on this, coming up with a viable plan for restart. Right now, with the issues that they're divided on, whether it be the testing or the quarantine procedures, whatever it might be, they're not on the same page necessarily, union and the league. Well, if they can sort that out, they'll be okay. But if they don't have that sorted out by launch day, I'm not really sure that they will be on time. If DeMaurice Smith and some of the players decide they want to hold up and say, hey, DeMaurice Smith being the head of the NFLPA, if they say, hey, let's put the brakes on this thing for now until we know for sure that you guys have a procedure and a plan in place, then we better hope it happens by Tuesday. They have a way of usually working this out last minute. You look at the CBAs and stuff like that. They always push it to the limit and, give us the maximum amount of anxiety. But I believe that they'll come up with something. I mean, it's a perfect storm.
And we're definitely going to do a little bit, too, on that safety stuff. Mac, you got to be, like I had said to Matt, I mean, it's, you got to feel good about the fact that at least, the buildup is there. Everybody's reporting on time. I mean, that's a start. You got to start somewhere, right? Might seem like a small thing, but it's actually a really large thing, considering that you could you could have everything weeks behind right now, and you don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, the NFL is the most watched sport in the world, basically, not counting overseas with soccer and that. But, I mean, it's showing us that sports are coming back one way or the other, where basketball, hockey, and baseball are all starting up. And the NFL seems like the most decisive sport right now. You haven't heard any players really come out and say they're not playing. We're scared of the virus. So it looks like that all the teams are going to be there. I mean, however they work out the practice, Jim, I don't know. I mean, like you said, I mean, you could change drills up during practice where you're hitting dummies instead of going live. You can change up your studying from into groups somewhere where not everybody's breathing on each other. And I think it's going to go in stages. So I'm just happy to see all sports, including the NFL, are now coming to the fruition. So.
Excellent. I gotta say a couple more good mornings to say hello to CJ, say hello to Ruben. I said hello. I got Samuel, another Jets fan in the house. Justin, making friends.
Justin's got some company today.
Justin's got some Jet fan friends. To the guy who's sending me, I just got a few private messages about some questions, and they're written in Czechoslovakian. I'm sorry, I don't understand Czechoslovakian, so I'm not be able to answer those today. And if you don't believe me, I can take a screenshot and share it later. But I appreciate the comment from Kate, who speaks Czechoslovakian, and Beast, who sent me another one. I've been overrun in the Big Guy Sports email box by people talking Czechoslovakian, and I don't have any idea how this possibly happened.
Hey, we're going worldwide, Jeff.
Maybe you got a good share. Yeah, maybe you got a good share in Eastern Europe somewhere. Who knows?
Picking this crap up later. I don't know what you mean. We're going worldwide.
We're going worldwide. I mean, we're being seen right now everywhere in the world right now. Facebook is everywhere, dude. So if they stumble upon us, you're gonna have some weird comments coming in.
I'm gonna have to ban them. So it doesn't even seem legit. It's some guy, I mean, it's probably somebody in a basement somewhere. It's, begging for help, and I can't read the language. So, I'm just saying, I got to clean it all up later. I don't even know how this happened. This has never happened until today. I shared with the wrong group. I must have shared some group where like people saw it, and it's not really like it's a front for an NFL group. It's really Czechoslovakian trading group.
Oh, no.
So could be. So that gets to the second point about the camps is safety. And there's something I want to read down this stuff for the safety, because they're still going back and forth talking about the safety issue. And I think in one of them, and I'll get to that in a minute, the NFL makes a really good point.
For more than a century, our workers and dealers and engineers and technicians.
We don't get paid for it. So anyway, author said he shared and has a Dutch wife, but this is Czechoslovakian. This doesn't help. Trust me. So they're still talking about what they're going to do with the safety issues. And there's one key safety issue, which I think makes a lot of sense. And good morning to Tyrone. So besides talking about the masks, which I've seen some prototypes, and it looks like, okay, aside from you not letting the player breathe at all, it looks pretty decent. They're going back and forth about the preseason games. Now, they originally cut out 2, and then the NFLPA wanted no preseason. Now, the NFL wants 1 preseason game, and I think it's the right thing to do, because you look at it, the NFL wants to play 1 preseason game 2 weeks before the start of the season, because what they want to do is they want to have this preseason game, then test everybody, and find out how it turned out before they put people in harm's way. So if I'm the NFLPA, I get it. You want to go play the regular season game and get paid, but here's the thing. You get paid for preseason anyway. Why not do that? I mean, it's a lot better than playing the first week of the regular season, testing everyone, and then finding out you have to cancel the season because half the players came away from that game with coronavirus, or a third. Why not just play that practice game 2 weeks before, so that way you have enough time to get all the testing done, get the results going, and find out really where we are. Mac, I mean, isn't that the smart way to do it? Forget about, I know you're how much you love preseason for the battles, but I'm not talking about the battles here. Forget the battles. From a safety standpoint, isn't it better to test run a preseason game first?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I coached, we would practice everything from the subbing in and out to standing where you stand on the field for the national anthem and how you're supposed to stand. And I mean, you go through every detail about the team. And what I'm saying, how that kind of coincides with this is that I think if it depends on how, like you said, where they're going to line up. Are the players all going to be together? How are they going to have the medical people on standby? How about their training staff? And as you stated, well, let's see what happens as these two teams play. So, I mean, there is a lot of different things that preseason actual game situations are practiced, not just to see who's going to make the team. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea. They could do it twice if they wanted to. It would be fine with me. But they should have something in place where we got to see what happens, how we're going to be set up, how are we going to work the tent, where is everybody going to be standing. All this stuff has to be worked out in a game situation, and definitely they should have this and test them 2 weeks out before the season. And see what happens. Say 5 people got it. So how are they going to react to that? Do we cancel the season, or do we just take those 5 or 10 players, have them go in quarantine for a couple of weeks and continue to play? So there's a lot of questions, especially with this virus.
Well, I see what the fans are saying, and good morning to Cody, and Michael. I see, Tyrone and Ruben and Justin saying, well, we need two. And about the rookies and the UDFAs, but that's not where the fight is with the NFL. They're not even really fighting about whether or not it's about the rookies. They're just totally the NFL wants this for one reason and one reason only, just so they can test afterward and see the results. And Maddie, I don't understand why the players are against this. Don't they want to find out how safe it is first?
I think they're being a little short-sighted if they're against this. It really is a little short-sighted, because why would you not do this? Logically, it shouldn't even be a discussion. Like, hey, okay, the league wants to make sure this is going to go properly. We want to know things, even simple things as who comes out of what tunnel, where the refs are coming from, how are we going to be distant on the field? Are you going to have people spaced out on the sidelines, or is there going to be media and press there? Where are you going to put them in relation to the players? Are they going to be allowed in locker rooms? Let's see how it rolls. Let's see where you can do interviews. There's all these little details that they can work out if they use a preseason game or two, and it'll help the guys get back, at least get their legs under them a little bit before you go into week one. And you've got to go full speed the whole way, and you're tackling to the ground. You're tackling full speed week one. You don't want to go out there stale, not having had any sort of live action. That's how injuries happen. That's how guys get put out for the season in week one. So I definitely think they should do the preseason games, especially now that the league has come out and made it clear why they want to do it, the testing purposes, the plan they have in place. They've been doing oxygen saturation tests on those masks. It's not limiting the oxygen intake for the players, the kind of mesh they use. So I don't really understand how it's going to even have any residual effect, but that's beside the point. I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff.
And I agree with everything you said. I much rather would get a dry run of how this is going to work. And I'd much rather want to find out how the players came out of that first game. Did anyone contract it? How bad did it spread? Because you look at all the other things, out of all the major sports coming back, basketball, hockey, baseball, football, none of them are touching each other as much as football. In basketball, they stopped playing defense a long time ago anyway. This isn't like the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons where people go to the hole and you're knocking them to the ground like it's football. Nowadays, it's just a highlight film, fest at this point. And hockey, yeah, you're checking each other, but hockey, they don't have arms exposed and stuff. They're wearing full-on uniforms. I mean, they're a helmet away from going to war. I mean, in football, it's, you got your sweating on your arms, it's dripping down your face, so you have gloves on. Some people don't have anything protecting the bottom legs. There's a lot of exposure, and you're tackling on every play, so I want to see how it comes out. I want to see what the results are going to be on the field, and I want to see it in practice. I don't want to get all hyped up, go into week one, have everybody play a game and find, find that, like, you play week one, you get all excited. You're like, oh, look, somehow the Giants beat the Steelers. Let's say that happens, and you're feeling good about yourself. And the Jets went into Buffalo and win their game, and you're feeling good about New York sports. And all of a sudden, the rug is pulled under you in a matter of a couple days because you're already getting ready for next week, but you've only got 7 days, as opposed to if you do it a week before and then you have a week off, they could get everything lined out. I think the NFLPA, their proposal was, we just want 21 days of workouts and then we'll play. I think, how many people complained during the regular season before the coronavirus? How many people have complained in the past that the NFL not playing their starters long enough in the preseason, because they put them in a quarter, pull them, put them in 2 quarters, pull them. The fourth game, you see them 1 series, pull them. How many people always complain and say the product doesn't look as great in week 1 because the starters don't play enough in preseason? And that's when they at least play a quarter or play 2 quarters. What is the product going to look like, Mac, if you play nothing? Is it going to take 3 weeks before we see a solid product on the field?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you're going to talk an extension of the preseason there. And if you're not an organized team, and if you don't have a lot of starters coming back and a stable coaching staff, you could go 0-3 right off the rip. I mean, it's going to be a big advantage to the experienced teams that have been playing a long time together. And you're not going to have, this young team or this new coaching staff like the Giants that are going to be able to jump out really quick. So, again, Jim, I agree with everything you said there. And like I said, too, I mean, suppose 10 players get the virus, and it's an airborne virus. I don't know if sweat and blood is going to transfer it or not, but they are going to be breathing on each other and laying on each other and facing off against each other. But what will happen when 10 players get the virus? How are they going to handle that? Are they going to – I mean, if you're going to have a season, you've got to have something in place for that, where these 10 players on either team have got to go into quarantine, and then we got to see – if we could continue playing football. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are up in the air right now, but it looks like football is going forward.
Yeah, it does look like football is going forward, and you made a lot of good points. Both of you guys just hit it on the head about all of it. I mean, it's just something we're going to have to see how it goes. Hopefully they'll come to an agreement.
Yeah, one of the major sticking points right now, I think they were talking about, was that there was no number set by the league for the amount of positive tests that would require a team basically to shut it down or go into quarantine. Like there's no number that's going to trigger an automatic team quarantine. They're not saying
you put a whole team in quarantine, though. I mean, if let's say you put the Cleveland Browns into quarantine and they have a game that week, what happens? They just lose.
They would just have to go about standard procedure. They would have to forfeit the game, I would imagine. That was the sticking point, because think about it. If you're practicing with your teammates, you guys are in close contact, you're eating together, you're dressing together, all that stuff like that, and four people have it, odds are more than 4 people have it. And now you can't put that team on the field. If you've got 60 guys and 20 of your players have it, you don't have a team to field. Okay? So I'm not really sure. That's a big sticking point for the union right now. You'd
have to cancel, Matt. I don't see any way the players will be okay with forfeiting games. I think
of course not.
You got to shut the whole team down, then it's not worth playing. I mean, then it's like, have a nice day. We'll see you when there's a vaccine. I mean,
you can't.
Got to have a limit. I mean,
you can't ask a team to forfeit a game because everybody has corona. I mean, that's just not fair. They would have to replay it or do. I don't know how they would handle that.
Yeah, reschedule it. I don't know.
Yeah, they would have to. I mean, they would have to if you're going to push on with this game. So, I mean, that would have to be another thing that they would have to work out. But again, guys, I mean, if you're going to go forward, maybe they'll come up and carry some other players on their roster. Maybe this is another thing that they have to think about. Maybe a whole nother 20 guys. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but they are going to have to be prepared for something like that. And hopefully that it doesn't spread throughout the team like that they can control the few cases they have.
Well, me as a fan, too, I want to see that one game because I want to see the results as a fan. I want to see what the results come back because I'll feel a lot better if they all play one preseason game and they run the test and tell us, okay, out of everybody that played, 2 people had the virus. Okay, that's not that bad. 2 people out of, the whole league. So we'll see what happens. Good morning to Al. Michael says on a side note, we should put a cutout of the Big Guy Sports Show at Citi Field. Michael, if they would allow us to put a cutout that actually for $86 that actually says the Big Guy Sports Radio Network and doesn't have to have a person on it, I would so do that, especially if I could get it behind home plate. If I needed to have a face, I would put, and then the shirt could say it. I would have Mac's face put on it. So you can see what it's like to sit in the Mets field all season long.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I would definitely, absolutely do that if that was an option. But I think they only let you put people. I don't think you're going to see, some guy standing behind home plate with an Allstate insurance sign on. I think not for $86, they're not doing that or whatever it was. So that gets us to our last point of the first hour. And obviously, I'm going to put up this graphic. And when you see this graphic, obviously you take out Derrick Henry because the graphic was made for a lot of channels to use, but, Henry signed. The class of 2021, and I say potential because you got franchise tags and all that garbage, which if I was an NFL player, the first thing I'd want to get rid of in this league is franchise tags. Franchise tags do not help the player at all. I know we talked about this and you'll tell me how they have guaranteed money and yada, 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 yada. I don't want that if I'm a player. I feel like I'm in prison if I have a franchise tag. If I want to get out of Cincinnati and they're just going to keep franchising me, the money don't matter to me. I just want to get out of Cincinnati. So
and don't sign the tag, buddy.
But then you just don't get paid and you're sitting at home. That's worse. I mean, now I don't get paid. Now I can't go spend the summer on that yacht I was renting for $2 million this year. Now I can't go pay my, pay the girls. I got nothing because I just gave all my money away, to sit home and, play Madden and, hope that Baker doesn't come after me. Is it too soon?
Oh, no.
All right, so anyway, yeah, I still love him. Listen, nobody has been a component of Baker staying on the Giants more than me. I've said it all the time. I still want him until the judge drops the gavel and says guilty. To me, he's a Giant. Bring him in. And Rojas is still here, so why not? Rojas only got hit with 3 misdemeanors.
Only 3 misdemeanors, yeah.
Listen, I don't think he's going to get cut now. I didn't plan to talk about Rojas. We can for 5 minutes, but it's only 3 misdemeanors. I mean, jaywalking's a misdemeanor.
It's only 3 misdemeanors.
Jaywalking's a misdemeanor. I mean,
I guarantee you,
kickers in.
Jim, I guarantee you, based on the details of what have come out about the Rojas case, they dropped that down from a felony, buddy. That could have very well been a felony. I guarantee you they dropped those down to misdemeanors.
Are you cutting them? It's not. Are you cutting them or are you getting them treatment for alcoholism?
Well, based on the new agreement, he's going to have to get treatment. Based on the new agreement, they have to allow him to do treatment.
Right now, and I would assume the league is going to suspend him for a few games, right? So the Giants have to bring in a kicker for at least a few games. Here's what's going to happen. All right. So, and good morning to John has joined us. A lot of good friends today. If Rojas comes to camp, okay, and then you bring in some other guy, whoever you bring in, Gostkowski, whatever. The league hits Rojas with a 3 or 4 game suspension. I don't know. We'll see. If he plays really well, Rojas will be out of a job. But if the filling guy plays 3 games and misses half of his kicks, I promise you Rojas will be back kicking for the Giants as soon as the suspension's over.
Hey, Rojas was a Pro Bowler just a couple seasons ago. He went from Pro Bowl to toilet bowl is what I had said to somebody the other day. Rough year last year, rough go at it. I'm wondering if maybe the drinking was an issue during the season last year. I'm wondering if maybe that had an effect. Maybe he got a little bit too high on his horse after making the Pro Bowl and being considered at the end of that season one of the best kickers in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He led the league in touchbacks. He had a ton of 50-plus yard field goals. His accuracy was top 2 in accuracy. He was number 2 in accuracy, field goal percentage. Extra points and things like that. And then next season, it's like, brother, did you even practice in the off season? Did you practice this week? What are you doing? So I think that he's probably gonna use the angle of, I have an issue, I need help, because that's a good thing for them in the new CBA and the new agreement. He's gonna get his help. They're gonna have somebody fill in for a couple weeks, and hopefully he can come back and kick for the Giants, because Rosas has a ton of talent, and he just needs to refocus and get back to it.
Exactly. And Mac, look, Cody here is like my doppelganger today. He says, give me Logan Ryan. Cody, I've been telling people to bring in Logan Ryan for weeks. I'm on my own here. I'm walking the plank here. I'm the only one who says bring in. But you got
the right money. You have to have the right money.
$10 million. You got to give Mac, you got to give the Giants some credit here in the fact that, unlike a lot of franchises, they're not rushing to judgment. They haven't officially cut Baker. They haven't cut Rojas, which I agree with what Matty Ice just said. I don't think they're going to cut Rojas. I think they're going to send him to treatment. That's why it is a big difference between felony and misdemeanor. Mm-hmm. So misdemeanor allows treatment and come back. Right. Felony involves getting cut. They're gonna let him get treatment, bring him back. They haven't rushed to judgment. They could have, after the report came out that he was paying people off, they could have cut him the next day. Everybody said they were going to, and here we are. It's Sunday. He's still technically a member of the Giants. So, you got to give him credit for doing the due diligence at least before rushing to judgment. And I think that a lot of this is a Joe Judge thing, because in the past you would have seen quick judgment. I think Joe Judge is probably more of a, we take our time and we do our due diligence, just like Bill Belichick did, because that's who he learned from. I mean, you look at when Brown was there. Brown, they waited till the last possible minute when they had no choice. They waited until they had the proof in their hands that he was texting that girl. You got to be happy that the Giants are doing the due diligence. They're not going crazy and rushing to judgment here.
Right.
Well, the Giants are known for how disciplined they are with their players. I mean, you're saying that the league will suspend Rosas. The Giants might suspend Rosas even if he does go for treatment. So it might be more than 3 games. I mean, just to make an example of Rosas and what he did. I mean, what he did, if there was somebody else, somebody could have got killed there. I mean, that guy could. Yeah. That was not just poor judgment. That was just
got killed. Did you see the
truck? Himself, yeah.
The truck was his pickup was a disaster.
That was just plain stupid. That wasn't just poor judgment. Baker is gone. We all know that. I don't care when they make the announcement. I mean, he's going to be lucky he isn't doing jail time. Rosas worked out a deal, I guarantee, with the prosecution. Maybe it was a first-time offense and, whatever, and he agreed to do treatment through them. That had to have happened. So I don't know, Jim. I don't know how long Rosas will be out when the Giants get done with him, too. I mean, the league will go first.
Well, sometimes if the Giants suspend you, the league will say, we'll just do with that suspension. So they might try to hit it at the pass right there.
True, but you're still representing the NFL, and you're out there drinking and driving 100 miles an hour and crashing into people. I mean, that's bad for the NFL, too, especially with everything else that's going on in Washington right now. I mean, it's just bad timing for everybody right now. So, I mean, Rosas may miss half the season. They have to bring in a decent kicker.
Right.
They don't really know how long he's going to be out. So, I mean, they have to bring in some kicker right now.
Listen, the first trial. Tyrone says, not Tyrone. Doug is here to let us know we stink. Doug, listen, I love your enthusiasm, but there's a 50-50 chance you're coming out in the Redskin report when it gets released. So I don't know.
Oh, man.
I don't know if you're allowed to talk about the Giants when you're.
This is bad.
When your players are trading cheerleaders.
This is bad for the league. This is bad for the Giants. Okay, let me tell you why this is really bad for the Giants, because Dave Gettleman, per usual, wants to come out and, as usual, foot and mouth syndrome, and he says the culture change is complete. The culture change is complete? Buddy, we weren't having players locked up in DUIs and robberies and stuff like that before you got here. All right.
He didn't draft Rojas, though, did he? Gettleman?
No, he didn't draft Rosas. No, that's beside the point, though. Don't sit here and say the culture change is complete when you don't know what the culture is in your locker room yet. Yes, they've turned over the entire roster and stuff like that, but they need to save some face here too. Don't forget this. Dave Gettleman.
Question about that: how do you, as a Giants general manager, how do you possibly like Rojas never gave you any signs that he was a problem. So how can you as a GM ever guarantee a culture change fix? You can't control everybody.
He didn't give us any signs publicly other than the fact that he wasn't performing on the field. Okay, we don't know. You know the Giants are a quiet, sealed-up organization, sans Odell Beckham Jr. saga, right? We're not going to hear. They're not going to come out and say, "Oh, our kicker's got a drinking problem, boys. I'll see you next Sunday." Okay, they're going to try to take care of it in-house, and they got to save some face, And I think Dave Gettleman's done a fine job drafting. I think his drafts since he's been here have been absolutely excellent. I thought he's brought in some great players, gotten some great value for the places he's picked some guys. I have no complaints. His free agency has been a little more than questionable. All right. So he knows that if things start to fall apart here, it's over for him. If Giants don't go above 500 or better this year, Dave Gettleman might not be the GM of the New York Giants next year, kids.
See, that's the only place I disagree with that is I don't think they have to go. I think if the Giants, they just went 4-12. I think if the Giants went 7-9 this year, and you saw you saw Danny Dimes grow to the next level, you saw Saquon have a good season, you saw Thomas does pretty well, Pert comes in later, does well, McKinney looks like a good draft pick. If they go 7-9, improve on 3 wins, and the young players play well, I think Gettleman's still here next year. I don't think he has to have a winning record.
Go 7-9 and have some close games. If you lose them, lose them close.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes 5-11, he's history. Matt,
it's funny because every group that I'm associated with as far as the Giants go, and they bash Gettleman constantly. And you know something, the biggest problem I have with that is when Gettleman came here, and this is his 3rd year. It's not like he's been here 10 years. He's the reason the Giants are so bad over the past 8 years or however bad they've been. He comes in, the salary cap is screwed. He has no money at all to work with. He's trying to plug in and play when he first gets here and trying to bring in veterans to see if the Giants can keep winning with Eli Manning. So he gives that a shot. The owners hire Schumer, a totally incompetent head coach. And he's been doing nothing but drafting Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, Hill, Lawrence. Him and his scouting group has found all this talented young players. And to hold Gettleman responsible for them being bad the last 8 years is ridiculous.
Well, you know how it is in
this, right? This guy built the Carolina Panthers into a Super Bowl team. He was there when the Giants on the staff as one of the scouts when the Giants had 2 Super Bowl teams. This guy knows what he's doing. His personality, you should stay off there. He should just have somebody do his spokesman for him because he tries to be cute. He tries to be like, I know, just get yourself
misunderstood.
I'm available, Dave. I'm available.
He makes a lot of bad jokes. He makes a lot of jokes he shouldn't make, and people take it the wrong way. And he's trying to be facetious or like trying to be like a little smart butt, and it comes across wrong, and it comes across as arrogant and braggadocious.
Yeah.
And people don't like that personality out of an older gentleman that's a GM of a pro football team, Jim, right?
But you know how it is, though. Like when you're losing, they don't pay attention to anything you do right. Like when you're winning, even the bad stuff you do, nobody cares about. If the Giants were back-to-back playoff teams almost in the Super Bowl, nobody be talking about Gettleman or Rojas at all. But when you're losing, that's just how it is. You don't get credit for the good stuff because you nailed it on the head. You only have Saquon Barkley because Dave Gettleman didn't go with the peer pressure to take Sam Darnold.
Or Josh Rosen.
Everybody wanted him to take Darnold because they said, you never draft a running back at number 2. And he said, well, yes, I do. And you have Barkley. If Dave Gettleman listened to all the closet GMs we have as fans, which we all are, we all do it. So I'm not making fun of the fans. We're fans. He wouldn't have taken Daniel Dimes. He would have took Haskins.
Louis Riddick wanted Dwayne Haskins.
Right.
Louis Riddick said, I would have never drafted Daniel Jones. You have to take Dwayne Haskins right there.
So you would have took Haskins, so he got that right.
Yep.
You wouldn't have had Lawrence. You wouldn't have Slayton. Another GM didn't draft Slayton. Gettleman drafted Slayton. So it's easy to point out all the mistakes when your team stinks. But the only thing Gettleman has really done wrong since he got here is two things, which in one of them I don't even think is wrong. He drafted Baker, which was not wrong. He drafted Baker based off a guy who played at Georgia and didn't allow touchdowns. How is that a mistake? You want to blame Baker, but you want to blame Gettleman because a year later Baker decided to go pull a gun on someone over a game of Madden? Like, he could predict that. For all he knows, Daniel Jones could go out and sniff coke tomorrow. He doesn't know. He's not babysitting them. He's not following them around. The only thing Gettleman has done since he got here is hired Shermer. He hired a coach that did not have a winning pedigree to take over a team because he only did that for one reason and one reason only. He did that because when he came into the league, when he came over here, he wanted to run it old school where the GM had all the control and Shermer was a yes man. So that's why he did it. But then when Shermer got fired and the owners told him, said, listen, you better hire someone who's going to have some say because your job's on the line now. Because the Giants owners came out publicly and said Gettleman's running out of chances. So now you have Judge. Let me just get in on a few of the comments real quick. Elijah mentions he wanted Riddick for GM. I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to lie up front. When they were fighting for the GM spot and it was between Riddick and Gettleman, I wanted Riddick too because I thought he was younger and more. But in hindsight, then right now Haskins would be our quarterback. And I'm not so sure that I like that because I don't like him. Let's see what else. Yeah, McAdoo was terrible. Tyrone wanted Bradley Chubb. I mean, there's all different people out there. Elijah says I wanted Allen. I think Danny Dimes will be better than Allen because I think Allen doesn't have the accuracy of Danny Dimes. I mean, I'm not knocking Allen because I think Josh Allen's a good quarterback, but I think that in the long run, Danny Dimes will put up better stats than Josh Allen would. Josh Allen might have more wins because he plays on the better roster, but that's a totally different thing. But Gettleman, let's not bash the poor guy. I mean, because it's just easy to do that when you're 4-2. And trust me, if the Giants go 5-11 this year, Gettleman's not going to be your GM anymore. Believe me that. So,
and one other thing, Jim, when they hire a head coach, the GM is not the one signing on the line. This head coach is interviewed several times by the owners. It's not the GM saying, hey, listen, Tish. Hey, listen, Mara. This is the guy I want. This is the guy I suggest. He may suggest it. He may have a pool of different coaches that he suggests. The owner, after the interviews with the owners, is when that head coach gets hired. So to place that on Gettleman, too, is just not right. I mean, the owners of the Giants have not been the best owners over the history of the Giants. I mean, I could go on 2 hours about the Giant owners.
But we still won 4 Super Bowls, so it's not that. I mean,
you want to know something? The Giant owners didn't do that. That was Bill Parcells. I can because let me tell you why. They were trying to get rid of Parcells a year after he was hired there. Okay, they had a shot to get Bill Belichick, didn't take it. They had a shot when they were hiring Schumer to get Bill Belichick, and they didn't take advantage of that opportunity. So I'm going to tell you, there are some things that I could go on about the Giants owners, and I know all about them for hours. I'm not going to do that because
we've had this argument before. I've disagree.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in like I've heard this already.
Well, how I feel that Belichick does not mean the Giants would have won because Eli is Tom Brady. So
it just pushes my buttons. If
you want to be invited to their media day sit downs when the coronavirus is over and drinking punch and sitting hanging out, you might want to get on the owner's good side. And all right, so I mistook. They were talking about Josh Allen, the defensive player. Yes, it would be absolutely amazing to have Danny Dimes and Josh Allen, the defensive.
That would have been awesome.
We're so strived for a good defensive end, but that's not the case. Go ahead, Matt.
Tyrone said that Georgia front seven was very productive for DeAndre Baker, basically insinuating that, he was so good in coverage because the front seven was so good. How many linebackers were first and second round picks? Well, Tyrone, the answer is 1. And it was Roquan Smith to the Bears. He went number 8 overall. Outside of him, it was Lorenzo Carter. We drafted him in the 3rd round. It was, again, Roquan Smith. He went to the Bears. And you had DeAndre Walker got drafted in the 5th round. Tay Crowder got drafted again by the Giants, 7th round. So to say that he had a bunch of first and second rounders is completely inaccurate, my man.
I don't understand why everybody's so like second guessing the Baker thing. Like it just doesn't.
That was a great pick, man. He was
a good pick. And let me tell you something, if Baker hadn't gone and went all nutty playing football playing Madden, we would not be having this conversation right now. Everybody high on Baker, talking about how he's going to rebound, and he looked good the last 4 games of the season, and they feel confident with him and Bradbury. It's so easy to just second guess things when you have the end result. It's very easy. But Gettleman didn't have the end result. He didn't have a magic ball. So anyway, I wanted to get into the free agent class of 2021. But I also want us to have time to go over each team. So we're going to go with our countdown first. And if we get to the 2021 running back class, we'll do it. I don't want to rush it. I want to give it its due. If we don't get to it, we'll bring it next Sunday on the table because we have plenty of days left before football. So as you know, last week we started the first part of our 8-part series of where each week we all 3 of us sent in a list of our NFL teams going into the season ranked 1 to 32. Then we put it into I want to call it a program or a system and had it average it out for us and got us our official The Big Guy Sports Network top 32. Okay? And don't think that's as easy as it sounds because I can promise you, they don't know the results of what it came out. And I can promise you that there are some people who had a team at 8 that someone else had it at 16. So we did this and we decided that as part of the 8-part series, each week we would release 4 teams at a time, taking us right to the start of the NFL season. So last week we did 32 through 29. We had the Redskins as the worst team in football. This is based on the average of 3 sheets. We had the Bengals 31. We had the Jaguars 30 and the Lions 29. Those were the 4 that we introduced last week. Now today for part 2, 28 through 25, these guys have no idea who fell where. So when I show to you, I'm showing it to them. So this is good. This is like real TV.
On the spot.
No prep. So we're going to do that today, and we hope you enjoy it. And if you like the show, and we appreciate all the fans checking in today, help us out, support us, like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at The Big Guy Sports. We have 8 writers on staff that are writing articles every day. If you check out our website, thebigguysports.com, a lot of exciting things, trust me, coming in August. A lot of exciting things. So anyway, let's get to this. So we are up to number 28. 28. Now, who do you think came in at 28? Throw me one name. Mac, who came in at 28?
The Jags.
The Jags were 30 last week, Mac. How can
I figured I'd throw it out there. Well, so we're saying that Oakland wasn't in our bottom 4 average out last week, right? Is that what we're saying?
Not 29 through 32, no.
Okay, so then I would go with the Raiders.
All right, who you got, Matt? Who is?
I would have to say that's going to upset somebody. I'm going to say the Raiders as well. I'm going to agree with Mac.
All right, coming in at number 28 is, let's head to the graphics. Bam! Chicago Bears are in at 28. Let me remove that banner so you can see. There you go. The Chicago Bears are coming in. Got a nice little picture of the Mitchell Trubisky looking like he wants to kill Nick Foles. Nick Foles is happy. I picked that picture on purpose so we can see. So the Chicago Bears come in at 28. And let me get you a little bit of insight on this since throwing it on you. There you go. So last year, and as I was doing this, I was a little bit surprised. I didn't actually think the Bears were that good that last year. They went 8-8, which is not bad. They actually played well in the division, going 4-2. And if you look, their defensive rank was 7. So the Bears, for some reason, I don't know why, it was in my head that the Bears were like 5-11 and they were like 8-8. So look at some good veteran additions. They added Nick Foles, who's going to fight for the starting job, as you saw in my picture. Trubisky wants him dead. You got Nick Foles. You got Ted Ginn came over. Ted Ginn still got something left in the tank. Jimmy Graham Hey, you represent. We love you, Jimmy. I don't know how much Jimmy Graham has left in the tank, though. He's been a little slow. Robert Quinn, Tashawn Gibson. They drafted Cole Kmet. They needed a tight end. So Kmet was a good pick. Jalen Johnson. They lost Chase Daniels. Who cares? They lost Taylor Gabriel. Who cares? Trey Burton. I don't care. Kyle Long. Leonard Floyd never lived up to his pick. He's out of Georgia, I believe, isn't he? Leonard Floyd never lived up to his draft status. He had like one good year. So the Chicago Bears, starting at the top, Mac, when you look at the numbers, the Bears look like they could find a way to slide into the playoff conversation this year, yet we have them at 28.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't pick them that low, but it's close to the bottom. The Bears' defense was always good. I mean, you can go back to Monsters of the Midways to the 80s, and then last year, the year before, they had an awesome defense. Their defense is still real solid. The biggest problem they've had over the last year was Trubisky. I mean, he no non-existent running game too. I want to stress that because when you don't have a running game, it's hard to set up your passing game. So, Trubisky had a little problem with his accuracy, had a little problem turning the ball over. They couldn't sustain drives, so they were losing, games by field goals or at the end of the game where they just couldn't score. And the defense, the Bear defense right now is not good enough just to win the game. And so that's the problem they had. That's why they went out and got Foles, and that's why Foles will be starting this year. I don't know if it's going to change their standing any, but they should have an okay team.
Well, let me tell you something. I bet Mitchell Trubisky, if he was watching this, wishes you were his coach because you said he had a little problem with accuracy. I like that guy because Mitchell Trubisky had a big problem with accuracy. Matt, almost like the same question. 8-8, they go 4-2 in a division that has the Packers and the Vikings. So that means they weren't bad in the division. Why can't this be a playoff team? I mean, that's right on the cusp at 8-8.
Looking at their schedule coming in, I think it's not necessarily favorable for them to make the playoffs in that division, my man. Granted, they open up against Detroit. We know they're going to beat up on Detroit. Then the Giants, the Falcons, it's going to be a tough game. The Colts, Buccaneers, Panthers. All right. Then they've got to play the Rams, Saints, Titans, and Vikings all right before their bye week. Okay, so they can very well just go 0-4 right down that stretch because they can't score with those
Giants
teams.
Play the Bears early, like week 2, 3, really early.
I believe so. We play them week 2.
Yeah,
in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm sorry, in Chicago. We play them in Chicago. We have to go to Soldier Field, play them in Chicago. All right, and then after the bye week, they got to come out, and then they play Green Bay, Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, Jacksonville, Green Bay again. So their schedule is going to be really tough, especially going to Green Bay down there week 17. Green Bay coming to them week 17 and them going to Green Bay right after the bye week in November. It's going to be 2 late season tough games in cold weather. They're going to have to be able to run that ball, and I don't think they have that capability late in the season. I don't think they have the offensive line to do it effectively, and I don't think they will be a playoff team. Not with Minnesota and Green Bay being in that division with them.
Well, we have them 28, so according to our list, they're like 5-11.
I'm surprised they're that low. But I'm not. I don't have too high of an expectations for them.
So real quick, who starts the season as the QB? Matt, Trubisky or Foles? Game 1
Foles for sure. You have to go with Foles coming in game 1. You
Matt,
have to.
Same opinion.
Oh, definitely. That's why you signed him with that big contract. I mean, that's why he came over there. He didn't come over to sit on be second string making that money when Trubisky isn't. So
Trubisky's a bum.
He's a bum. All right. Well, Trubisky, I personally don't think you should start, but just in case you ever wind up as the Giants' backup, I don't think you're a bum. And you're welcome to come on anytime.
You're welcome to come on, but you're not playing well, sir.
Oh, yeah. I'm just trying to keep him on the good side. Keep him on the good side.
Love you, man. I loved him coming out of college.
Absolutely. So got drafted way higher than he should have, but that's a story for another day.
Talk about staying on his good side.
North Carolina does not produce a lot of good NFL quarterbacks. I can't even think of one good NFL quarterback that came out of North Carolina.
I can't think of one that came out of Duke either, but now we got one, so
No,
it happens.
Yeah. Who was our man on the Giants from Duke?
Are you going to talk about Brown, our quarterback
Dave
Brown?
Dave
Are you
Brown.
seriously?
Hey, Brown, baby.
Seriously.
And our boy Danny Dimes.
What?
You know?
Danny Dimes came out. Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. I mean,
Trash Binsky.
Duke doesn't need to produce lots of football players because they produce so many good basketball players. So we don't need,
Best of the best.
so we don't need to produce that. So Tyrone called him Trash Biscuit. That was a fan that called you Trash Biscuit, not us. Trubisky should be a career backup. Hello, Ryan. Nice to see you. So that came in at 28. So the Bears. So who you got at 27? Are you just going to keep naming the Raiders till you get to them, or who you guys think is at 20?
I mean, I don't know how Oakland got higher than the Bears, to be honest with you guys. I have no idea.
List.
I had Oakland second to last. I don't who put Oakland at number one. That's all I want to know. Why do they?
I can't give out that information.
Oh my God!
I need to look at my list.
Secrecy. I'm just telling you, it's a 3-team average. So who you got now? So you're saying it's Oakland now?
Gotta be the Raiders.
You staying with Oakland, Matt?
Where did I put Oakland?
You can't look at this is cheating.
No. Okay, Carolina.
Carolina. Okay, so coming in, I got to look at the list. I wrote it down too, so I hit the right graphic. Coming in at number 27 is bam, Carolina.
Oh,
Survive.
bonus points.
So new head coach Matt Rule, who many thought was a cinch to come to the Giants, takes over Carolina. In his first move in Carolina since getting there, he lets Cam Newton go, releases Cam Newton, who went over to obviously the Patriots. He let Kyle Allen go, who goes over to Washington and is my future pick to be their starting quarterback. And he brings in Teddy Bridgewater to run his offense. Brand new quarterback, brand new system. He brings in Robbie Anderson, who the Jets let go for peanuts. Peanuts. He brought in Seth Roberts, and if you ain't watched Oakland football, Seth Roberts can play. He brought in Seth Roberts. He brought in Russell Okung, who getting up there in the tooth a little bit, but he's there. He brought in our boy Eli Apple. Eli Apple goes over to Carolina after he couldn't stay out of trouble here and was always in the media. They picked Derek Brown, who is a great defensive tackle pick in the first round out of Auburn, I believe. Hopefully. They brought in Matos, a good defensive end who I believe is out of Penn State.
Yep.
I'm on it today, getting my colleges right. I paid attention during the draft for a change. All right. They lost Greg Olsen. It doesn't matter. He's already halfway to TV. Gerald McCoy is getting up there. Eric Reed is up there. James Bradbury came to the Giants. We'll start at the top this time. Mac, 5-11 last year. They went 2-10 in the NFC, which is not that good. Offensive 22nd, defensive 25, new coach, new system, signed Teddy Bridgewater to a multi-year deal. He's the man there. They didn't go out and draft a quarterback as his backup to put pressure on him, so it's going to be Teddy's show for a while. I think you feel like me, I guess, if they fell at 27, where it's going to take them a little time to get the system down and, maybe more than a year. Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, maybe they never do. I mean, we know the history of college coaches coming up and playing at the pros. I mean, Nick Saban, probably the greatest college coach of all time. The guy, I'm trying to remember his name, it slips my mind right now, that came over from the quick offense he ran over with Oregon. I can't remember his name right now. He gave it a shot, didn't last. Even Lou Holtz. I mean, there's great college coaches that do come up, and they just can't run a professional football program. Even Pete Carroll had a problem when he first came up with the Patriots. So, I mean, to say that this will work, I don't know. I know he got paid a lot of money for a rookie coach. And the Giants, that's why the Giants kind of said, you can go coach at Carolina. It's a rookie coach. It's a successful college coach. We'll see if he can put it together. I mean, I think he's at least a couple years away if it works out to begin with.
Well, Matty Ice, I mean, as we sit here and we look at Carolina, if we're being honest with each other, if Matt Rule wanted to be the Giants head coach, that's where he'd be.
He would be the Giants head coach.
Giants head coach first. But you look at this, so I wasn't shocked that they let Newton go, not because I don't think Newton has talent, just because of the injury. I was a little shocked that they let Kyle Allen go because he played so well. He's fully committed to Teddy Bridgewater, but I guess you're of the same mindset based on the rankings. They're going to need a year or two to get the system down.
Yeah, they're going to have to get it going. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to come in there and all of a sudden be a college quarterback again to run that system. He's going to have to get adjusted. DJ Moore, great wide receiver. They've got some good guys on the outside there that can really play ball. As far as their rookie class is concerned, there's only been one time since 2014 that a rookie draft pick has started all 16 games for the Panthers. Mm-hmm. And only 12 times in team history has a rookie draft pick started all 16 games and never more than one out of the entire season. They've got 5 different rookies that could potentially start this year on that team. All right, on defense. They drafted all defense. We know what they're looking to do. They're looking to revamp the entire thing with Kuechly going to end up being out of there. He's out of there. Ron Rivera once said a rookie needs about 5,000 snaps. 5,000 snaps to really get into the system. And they're not coming anywhere near that in the first couple weeks of the season, or especially before the season starts. So I think they're going to be a mess on defense because all these rookies, all these young guys are going to struggle a little bit. And offensively, they've got the only player outside of a quarterback being Christian McCaffrey with more than a 60% chance to win the MVP. They're going to give him 500 touches if they can, 1,000 touches if they can, 1,500 touches if they can, 5,000 touches if they can, Jim. That's the only way the Carolina Panthers have any success this year is Christian McCaffrey carrying them on his back. Yeah,
and I agree with what you said. And, they're not worried too much about offense. We know that Teddy Bridgewater can play. I mean, we know Teddy Bridgewater could play before he got hurt. He showed what he could do when he took over for the Saints. They have solid offense. I mean, you just said it. You hit it on the head right there. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is regarded as the number 1 running back in the league. He's going to get lots of touches. Robbie Anderson is finally ready to take that leap, which is why we always get on the Jets about why did you let Robbie Anderson go when now he's taking off. Seth Roberts can play. Offense is not an issue. And as you said, they drafted defense. So for Carolina, as soon as they mold that defense into a good unit and get them experience, they will win games. So it's just a matter of how long does that take? Do they win games next year? How long does it take to mold the defense? As soon as they mold the defense, they are going to win games and win a lot of them. So it's just, Matt Rule's going to get years to prove it. Matt Rule, they didn't sign him that big money deal and give him a lot of control down there to come in here, and if he stinks after 2 years, he's gone. Rule will get at least 3 or 4 years out of that contract to see if he can mold it.
Comes from championship stock. He was on Coughlin's staff with the Giants, and he knows what it takes to build a winning team on the professional level. He's been a part of it, although at a low level in the staff. Granted, Baylor, they don't know what a defense is in that conference or at that school for that matter. But we'll see what happens.
We will. Some comments. Kevin says, how does people swear that Danny Dimes is so good? Well, it's not. First of all, the 3 wins is not a reflection. I think we won 4 games. The 4 wins is not a reflection of Danny Dimes. A reflection of the team is not good. And if you take out his fumbles, he had a great rookie year. Put up a lot of yards, put up a lot of touchdowns, didn't throw a lot of interceptions. I think was one of the only, if not the only rookie to ever throw 3 games of 4 touchdowns in a game. I mean, the stats.
400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
If he doesn't fumble, he's a great quarterback. Now, if he doesn't learn to stop fumbling, that could be the difference between good and great. So that was number 27. So it's interesting because I see it, Max, like, where the hell are the Raiders? So I guess you're going to ride this one out until the Raiders come out at 20.
You're going to have to. You're going to have to. I don't know how the Raiders are better than the Panthers or the Bears.
I don't know. It's a 3-man list. That's what makes it interesting. Everybody's got their own opinion. I look at where you guys put some of these teams on this list later, and I'm like, holy cow. So who knows?
Yeah, okay.
Matt, you going to say Oakland at 26, or are you going to ride someone else?
I'm going to say Denver.
You say Denver. He's looked at his list now, so he's kind of like he feels like he's in the ballpark.
Well, that's what happens when you put that thing up. Matty goes to work. You put that thing, covers our faces. And
honestly, I haven't even seen that yet.
Coming in at 26, can we make Mac happy? That's the question. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, right, Las Vegas, and I still call them Oakland. That's okay. I wrote Las Vegas on the other graphic.
Oh, it says Oakland.
Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders now with John Gruden. I will tell you one thing. No matter what happens, see, I got Las Vegas over here. No matter what happens, the stadium looks badass. So I don't know about anything else, but the stadium looks pretty cool. It looks like they're playing in a spaceship, and I dig it. I dig it because that means if they're really bad, the thing can lift off the air and just take off and go to Mars, and then we never got to see him again. I'm digging it. So the Las Vegas Raiders, again, this is another team a lot like the Bears that I honestly felt like they were a lot worse than 7-9. Like, I have no idea how they wound up 7-9. They went 5-3 at home, but if you look, the biggest concern for them is their offense and defense were both in the bottom 3 and 4 of the league. Oof, bad. They brought in Marcus Mariota, who, I'm sorry, but he does not impress me at all. Devontae Booker, Nelson Aguilar, who dropped so many passes that a guy in Philadelphia, I don't know if you remember that video, he caught a baby that was thrown from a window from a fire. And when they interviewed him, he said, yeah, we caught the baby. We don't drop things like Nelson Aguilar. He said it on the air.
I remember that.
They're brutal in Philadelphia. Jason Witten, he's not the Jason Witten you're all used to. He's very slow and down the home stretch. So I was glad the Giants didn't bring him in. There was a lot of talk about Jason Witten coming in and like for what? You know, Prince Makumura is still hanging out there, man. There was Prince put up a couple good years in New York.
Prince sighting.
He put up a couple good years. They drafted Henry Ruggs, which was a controversial pick at the time because they thought they were going to take the other Alabama wide receiver. But he fell because of his leg injuries. He fell a few picks. That was a good pick. They picked up, keep an eye on this guy. I want to mention this guy so y'all keep an eye on him so you say Jim mentioned him. Wide receiver Brian Edwards. Just keep that name in your head. The kid can play. Don't let the round fool you. All right? They lost Mike Glennon. Who cares? Mike Glennon's that guy who everyone says he's got starter potential, and he's never started. So I don't know.
AJ McCarron.
Exactly. So DeAndre Washington, AJ McCarron's winning anyway because he married that lady, so he's winning. Vontez Burfict. I mean, the best thing they ever did was let him go because all he does is hit people and get suspended. Jonathan Hankins, they lost too, another former Giant. And all you Giant fans out there remember Hankins. So, all right, Mac, you always lead us off. So the Las Vegas Raiders have made their way to 26. Tell me something about the Raiders positive. Give me a positive besides the stadium.
The coach, John Gruden. I mean, that's the only reason why they're 7-9. He's a great coach. He can get a lot of a lot of different players. He can get a lot of stuff from them. I don't understand the rebuilding process right now with Marcus Mariota. I mean, there was other quarterbacks out there that could have been a pickup.
David,
I understand that, but it's still important that you get, even as a backup, Jim, that you get somebody that's knowledgeable, that's been in big games, knows how to read defenses. And Marcus was okay, but he was definitely not one of the better veterans he could have picked up. Gruden, for all that he's worth, is a very knowledgeable man. And as I said, he knows how to motivate his players. And that's why they were 7-9 and they were so poorly ranked. They'll find ways to win. There's a lot of questions at the quarterback right now. Is he going to be there next year or not? I think that they're going to be a little bit better than they were last year, but not much. I think they're a couple of years away from rebuilding to really become a force over there. So that's the only reason why I could figure they made 7-9, and that's the only reason that they were 7-9.
So let me ask you, Matt. They get rid of Khalil Mack. They get rid of Cooper. They basically start from scratch. They have a nice young running back over there. You got to figure the time is running out on Carr. Like, this has to be his last year to prove, right? I mean, he's had one good year his whole career. So
yeah, that's basically why they brought in a guy like Mariota, because even if things don't work out with Carr, he can come in there and run for his life at the very least. Okay? At the very least, he can come in there and run for his life. Josh Jacobs, man, I love this kid, Josh Jacobs, that running back out there. Oh, man, I love that guy. He's going to run you over. He's going to run around you. He's fast enough. He can do it all. All right, he's going to be a name up there with the top 5 running backs in the NFL in the next year or so. Their offensive line is not too impressive, obviously, and their defense. Granted, they drafted Cleveland Farrell out of Clemson, who I think is probably just a little bit too high on, in my opinion, where they drafted him. They lost Tahir Whitehead to we actually just spoke about him, to Chicago, right? And or is that Carolina? He went to Carolina. Tahir Whitehead to Carolina. He was their leading tackler on their defense. So, and then if you look at their schedule from last year, man, they weren't in close games last year. They were getting beat to sleep by some of these teams, you know. They lost 34-3 to the Jets. They lost the following 40-9 to Kansas City, 42-21 to the Titans the week after that. Then they lost to Jacksonville, 27-16. So they weren't even in the games they lost, to say that, oh, they're right there. They're that close. They're not. They're probably going to be the third or fourth worst team in that division again. And they will be a tough – they'll be a tough out. They'll be a tough out, but they're not going to be a factor in playoffs or late in the season, in my opinion.
Well, according to where we ranked them, they're going to finish in last place because they're the worst AFC West team we have on our list. Personally, I don't like anything about the direction the Raiders are going in. I could have easily put them last if it wasn't for the fact that the Redskins are such a mess. I don't like Carr. I don't think he's good. I think, maybe a smidgen better than his brother was, if that. And I have a lot of respect for his brother because I thought his brother held himself well when he came here for the Giants.
I don't know, Jim. Carr was almost an MVP just the season before last.
No, I don't like him. I don't like – it's just a personal opinion. I don't like Mariota at all. I don't think he's any good. I mean, Mariota lost a job to Ryan Tannehill. And I know Ryan Tannehill fits the system. But Ryan Tannehill on half the teams in the league would not be that good. So I don't like Mariota at all. I don't like the fact he got rid of Khalil Mack, who's an all-world talent. I don't like the fact he got rid of Amari Cooper. I know he got all these picks, but yeah, whatever. I just, to be honest with you, I don't like anything Gruden's done in Oakland. And the only
really good.
Yeah, the only thing that Gruden has going for him, in my opinion, is the fact that when Gruden signed that 10-year deal, he was given a certain amount of ownership in the team, a small stake, so he's not going to get fired. If it wasn't for the small stake, he'd be out of a job in 2 years. And he should have stayed in the studio because, with all due respect to Gruden, he was really good in the studio. He's amazing in the studio, making a ton of money in the studio. And now he took over a team that is so far from winning, in my opinion. They're so far away yet. I don't like anything about Oakland. I don't have a positive thing to say about them. The only thing I like about Oakland is the stadium.
In my defense, the Raiders were the worst AFC West team on my list. So I'm just good.
Well, they were on all of ours because they finished last.
The Denver Broncos team on my list.
All right. Well, you can't. If one person list, we'd be here from.
They should be next. Broncos are awful. Stop propping them up.
Who brought them up? We're still in the non-playoff teams. We haven't propped anyone. So we're up to number 25, which is our last team of the week. Is it the Jets? Is it the Giants? Is it somebody else? Matty Ice says it's the Broncos. Who do you got, Mac?
I got Denver too, man. That's got to be right.
And that's got to be right. Denver Broncos you're going with.
Denver Broncos.
All right. So let's see. You got to look at make sure I hit the right graphic. Last thing I want to hit the wrong graphic, freak everyone out. So at number 25, last team of the day for part 2 of our 8-part series. And this has been a lot of fun to break down all the teams and see what we got. I should have did this with the baseball thing. Then everybody would have, knew what was going, So, but anyway, number 25. Is it a local team or do they survive till next week?
Ooh, buddy.
I'm
so good at this.
It's gotta be somebody that gave you Drew Lock. Drew Lock is a positive. Let's take a look at their team for a minute. Another team who went 7-9 that I thought went like 4-12. They went 3-3 in the division. The most shocking thing when I was putting these together that I noticed is that the Denver Broncos were not that terrible. I mean, 19th in offense is not that bad. 12th in defense is good. Look at the veteran additions. They added Jeff Driscoll. They have their quarterback. Melvin Gordon, I don't know what you're going to get from him. Plus, they have Phillip Lindsay. So, it's going to be a two-headed monster. AJ Bowie is a good addition. And I'm sure AJ Bowie is ecstatic to get out of Jacksonville. Draft picks, they did well. Jerry Jeudy slid to them. when the Raiders passed on him because of his injury, or supposed crop up again injury. They brought in another wide receiver in Hamlin. So the Denver Broncos went right into the draft and said, we're getting Drew Lock weapons, and picked up 2 wide receivers right off the bat. And they picked up Melvin Gordon. You give Drew Lock looked good last year. He looked good. I mean, Elway finally got his guy after drafting 7 guys in a row that were no good. He finally got his guy. They lost Flacco. Who cares? Theo Riddick is kind of like a scat back, no big deal. Chris Harris, you replaced Chris Harris with A.J. Bowie, and not to take anything away from Chris Harris, A.J. Bowie at this point in Chris Harris's career is an upgrade. So, Mac, they had weapons for Drew Lock. Drew Lock showed a lot of potential last year. I think they have it right on the quarterback. The defense was 12th, not terrible. A lot of that, So, what do you think about the Denver Broncos?
Well, you're going to see when you start looking back at the other teams as we go through that there's a lot of 7-9 teams, a lot of 8-8 teams. The division they're in is one of the reasons for my placement. You gotta play a couple teams there twice that are very good teams. I think that Locke is legit. I think if I'm right, he came in like halfway through the season or at the end of the season. If I'm correct, what I'm thinking. He's got talent. He's got an arm. So I'm not saying that they're going to be terrible this year. I think they're going to finish around the same point as they did last year. He's still young. He's still learning stuff. I think Elway finally got a draft pick right, and we'll see what happens.
Oh boy, and Pat Shermer's his offensive coordinator. God forbid.
Shermer's a good offensive coordinator, man.
Mac, you have to like the offense they picked up for him, right? I mean, Gordon with Lindsey is a good 2-headed monster. Judy and Hamler are some good wideouts for him, right? You got to be happy with them.
And they had some solid guys there before, like with Cortland Sutton. He's a viable wide receiver. Yes. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. So they've got some guys there that can really do it. What Locke needs, they can get open. They can stretch the field. They can run the ball. The offensive line is decent. They're not great, but they're decent. Then, of course, you look at the defense. You've got Bradley Chubb there. You've got your boy Von Miller there. As long as those guys are there, is Kareem Jackson still the safety there? I can't remember.
That I don't know. Do you think this team could finish like 8-8? You think they could?
No, listen. I have them ranked low on my initial. Rankings here based on 2019. Just because of where everybody else fell, man. But I really believe if you look at Denver's schedule for 2020, man, I believe Denver can win 9-10 games and make the playoffs in that division because it's very, very favorable. They play the Jets, they play the Dolphins, they play the Raiders, they play the Chargers. The Chargers not going to be any good. They've got to play Buffalo, and they play the Raiders twice, of course. So they have a very favorable schedule.
You put them 25th.
I did this based on 2019. And coming into the year, they don't look like they're better than a bottom side team. But I believe with Drew Lock, I'm a big fan of that guy. Big fan of the way he plays, the way he leads the team. The team is bought in on him, and that's the most important thing. When your team is bought in on your quarterback, you can't ask for much more than that. And Shermer is going to put him in a similar position like he had Case Keenum when the Vikings went to the NFC title game. Put him in a system that's going to work for him, run plays that's going to work for his arm strength and for his accuracy, and he can run. So they're going to have a versatile offense and a very good defense in what I consider a mediocre division.
All right. So I'm with you guys on this. Denver, could be probably is the second best team in the division. I mean, the only team above them is Kansas City. You can make an argument they're better than Las Vegas. You can make it they're definitely better than San Diego. I like what they're doing with Drew Lock. I like the pieces they're putting around him. I like Judy a lot. If he stays healthy. I liked Henry Ruggs too. So, either one I would have been happy with. I like Hamlet. I like Melvin Gordon going with Lindsey, which also offers Denver protection if Lindsey leaves after this year because he's on that list of 2021 free agent running backs. So it gives them some protection. The defense will be solid as always. A.J. Bowie, step up. Love A.J. Bowie. They're going to be solid on defense. If the offensive line blocks and you give Drew Lock some time, I'm with Matt on this one. They could surprise somebody. They could squeeze in at 9-7 and steal that last playoff spot, and go down to Kansas City in round 1 or Baltimore or wherever they got to go. So good picks. We're down through another week. Next week will be part 3, where we will go 24-21. Will the Giants be in there? Will the Jets be in there? They're still surviving. The New York teams are still surviving the list.
Let's see how this goes.
They're on there. They're making it happen. Real quick on one of our many feeds that we share, so we don't see it in the comments. David, good morning to David, asked, what's your pick on the new name for the Washington team? I think when we covered this during the week, David, we were either sold on the Warriors or the Red Tails, seem to be kind of where we're leaning. I'm assuming that's coming out this week, unless the Redskins plan to report to camp just wearing red uniforms with nothing on the helmet. I don't know what the plan is.
The Washington football team. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I got another name for everybody out there because, I've had these great ideas for names, but the Washington Pimps might be a good name for the teams coming up.
We're trying to get less offensive.
Well, okay, all right. I'm not sure how it is.
I mean, I don't know who would they. I know the perfect person to put on the logo on the helmet. Right. Did you ever see The Godfather in wrestling? He used to come out and like, all aboard the Ho train. Y'all remember that?
I don't know if you can say that live on air, Jim.
I'll tell you, if you watched wrestling during the Attitude Era, this is you.
Come
on, no. Before The Godfather was The Godfather, and used to go out and say he used to be like pimping hoes nationwide. Before he did all that, he was in the Nation of Domination. Listen, you watch with The Rock and D'Lo Brown and Farouk.
And I don't know though that
Mark Henry and
Marco with using pimps and domination go together too well right now. That's all.
I'm just telling you that
this is a family show. What are you doing?
There was a lot of stuff that was allowed on the USA Network that they don't.
We're behind. That's saying.
If I let Mac watch 2 episodes of like Raw from back in the Attitude Era, his life would be changed forever.
Of course.
You'd be like, what in the world is going on? But people know where I'm coming from. So Cody likes the Red Wolves. Justin likes the Red Tails. I like the Red Tails because I've seen
Rivera. Ron Rivera said they want to stay. They want to kind of dedicate it to the military in a way, and that would be a perfect way to do it. The Red Tails, honor some of the greatest pilots to ever work.
They were African American
pilots, African American pilots who did great things for this nation and carry a great name and a great heritage. It would be a great name for the.
I honestly think it would be the best Washington name. I think you're the military, an African American group that was their name and their call, and I think you couldn't pick a better name. I mean, that would be perfect. Especially for a guy right now that's taking water over the side like the Titanic. I mean, he needs to get this right. He can't mess this name up. If he comes out with the politicians, just throw him out of town. Just get him out of town. Just boot him. Don't even care. Just be done with him. So I guess we have some time here I just want to go over I want to talk about this class. Now, as I said, you don't know what's going to happen with the free agency, but this class is stacked, and I'll give you a graphic. So I don't want you guys to have to dig deep on this one. Well, let me throw these names out here. You got Leonard Fournette, who, if I know the Jaguars, since they just like to piss all their players off, they'll tag him even though he doesn't want to be there. You got Dalvin Cook, as long as he doesn't hold out. If he holds out, he doesn't get to become a free agent next year. You got Aaron Jones. You got Joe Mixon. Alvin Kamara, who I think is the best on the list now that Henry's off the list, but that's him and Dalvin Cook are my favorite. Phillip Lindsay, we just talked about. Marlon Mack, Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley, who's not the same anymore. And the notables, don't sleep on James Conner from Pittsburgh. Kareem Hunt is back. Tariq Cohen, Chris Carson, Matt Breida. This could be the best free agent class ever from all positions. I mean, look how stacked this running back class is, guys. I mean, Mac, putting you on the spot. Let's assume Derrick Henry's off the list because he signed. Dalvin Cook, let's say Dalvin Cook holds out and he's not a free agent. So take Henry off the list, take Cook off the list. Who's the one running back there you want the most?
Well, I mean, if I'm going for an all-around back, of course it'd be Kamara. I mean, with the hands, the speed, you can line him up as a wide receiver. He's a playmaker. He keeps the offense going sometimes. If I wanted a back that I just wanted that could pound, that could get the tough yardage for me, of course I go with Fournette. So Kamara first, and then maybe Fournette second.
Matt, same question. Are you taking Kamara first, Fournette second, if you can't take Cook or Henry?
Man, if I can't take Cook or Henry, I don't know if I take Kamara, because from what I've seen with Kamara since Mark Ingram has left is a bit of ineffectiveness in certain situations on the field. All right, yes, super versatile. Yes, he can catch the ball. Yes, he can line up a wide receiver. Blocking in line at blocking for the quarterback with the pass rush, he gets under there and he gets in there. He's not scared to block, and I admire that about him. He's not a big guy, but he's not afraid to get up in somebody's chest. I like him a lot, but I don't know if he would be my pick. I think Marlon Mack is one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL, in my opinion. A lot of people don't realize how good he actually was last year and all the different things he did for Indy. I think he's going to be a monster for them, especially with the quarterback situation being Phillip Rivers over there if he ends up starting for them. And if it's not Marlon Mack, I would definitely more than likely go with Joe Mixon, despite his history of
he's cleaned it up. Yeah, he's been fine.
Yeah, he's cleaned it up, and he's really come around, and he's doing what he needs to do. And I think Joe Mixon, man, that guy is explosive. He can run it through the tackles. He can run outside the tackles. He can catch the ball. He can block. He can do it all. And I really like him a lot. He's a top 10 guy in my opinion for sure. It wouldn't be Kamara for me. It would definitely be Marlon Mack would be my first pick out of the ones outside of Cook and Henry, and then Joe Mixon followed up after that.
Right. Yeah, me personally, I would probably go with Kamara first. I would stay away from Fournette because I just think he's a problem in the locker room and he yaps too much, and I'm totally against that. That's just how I would run my team.
A lot of injuries too.
And a lot of injuries too. I'm not sure about Aaron Jones. He had a great year, but he could have had even a better year, but I saw him have a few down games where they even benched him one game and let the other guy come in. I like James Conner a lot too. I don't know why James Conner doesn't get a lot of pub. James Conner is really good. I know people argue and say that James Conner is only good if you have a good offensive line. He's not really a juke you out of your shoes type of guy, but this list is just, to me, is remarkable. I can't remember ever a time in the history of football when this kind of stature of backs are all going to be potential free agents at the same time. Now, we all know what's going to happen. Henry's already off the list. Half of these guys will get tagged. I can't see any way that the Saints don't tag Kamara. I mean, they don't have a backup.
I think they're going to pay him. They're not investing much money anywhere else outside of Michael Thomas and Drew Brees anyway.
Yeah, I mean, how do you don't have a good backup to let him go? Dalvin Cook, I still think will get re-signed in Minnesota. Aaron Judge is one I could see hit the market only because they like the backup also. He had some
Aaron who? Jim? Aaron who?
Jones.
I thought he said Aaron Judge.
Well, I said Aaron Judge, man. I might have said Aaron.
We're going to watch that later.
Baseball's here. We'll have to replay it.
Hey, listen, though. Mm-hmm. If you look, a guy like Tariq Cohen and a guy like Kareem Hunt, those guys can be started. Tariq Cohen for the Bears was a game breaker for them a lot of the time. That guy is shifty. You can't see him behind the line when he's coming out of there. Boom, he gets the ball, and next thing you know, he's out of there. Special teams player, can return kicks on punt return and kickoff return. He's going to be a good pickup for somebody. Matt Breida, we saw what he did for the 49ers.
Chris Carson, too, is no slouch in Seattle.
Chris Carson is no slouch coming out of Seattle, man. That dude can play ball. He gets in there. He'll run between the tackles, and he'll put it on you. He'll lower his shoulder. Kenyon Drake, he left Miami, went to Arizona. He's going to do some good things over there with them, with Kyler and with Nook Hopkins, man. That's going to be such a
you know what's weird about this list, Matt, is I never thought I'd say this, but I look at all these names, and you would never have said this 2 years ago. But if you asked me, out of all these names, who'd I want the least, it'd be Todd Gurley.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Gurley's really calling.
If you look at these guys, though, right, and you look, they're reaching analytically, they are reaching the end of the most effective parts of their career. Okay, after year 4, there's a significant statistical drop-off for most running backs in the NFL these days. All right, and so when you look at it like that, I can't see what you're doing. I just see your Mets logo moving up and down. And I don't know if you're agreeing with me or disagreeing with me.
Agreement. Yes, that's what I was saying.
So statistically, that fourth year is tough for a lot of running backs. That's why a lot of them try to get their paycheck in year 3. They want it right at the beginning of year 4 because they know that come year 5, 6, 7, your career, you're not really turning it on like you were your first 3, 4 years. You've got some miles on you now. You've gotten beat up quite a bit. You've probably gotten a contract offer from the team you don't like already. So, they got to be careful. You got to be careful when you're re-signing these running backs in the middle to late end of their career. You don't want to bury yourself, man.
Let's hopefully we get 8 good years out of Barkley, since that's what it'll take so we could see some winning teams with him, because he's going into year 3 and they're not ready to win the Super Bowl yet. So, hopefully that happens. But good stuff today, especially on our countdown. And the countdown is planned out perfectly because it's going to go right to about when they're starting the season. In fact, if I planned it correctly, because we have 6 more weeks to do it, right? So I got the 26th, 2, 3, 4, 5. It takes us right to September 6th, which is the week before the season, which will also allow us to come in here on September 6th after we're done with the list and give our playoff predictions and our Super Bowl predictions and all that different stuff. And, for those who love football and love picking games, we're going to have a nice contest this year with a nice prize.
Mm-hmm.
A nice prize. People love money. I'm not going to send you a blender. Don't worry, there's no blenders. So, we're going to have a nice contest picking the games all year, maybe a little beat the Mac man thing going. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Anything I come up with. So we're going to, we're going to have contests. We're going to have pick 'em contests. And if the PlayStation 5 ever releases a damn release date, I can start recruiting for the Madden League. So, you got a lot of things going on right now, so is what it is. You know what I mean? So, I know Mac doesn't follow Madden, but if you follow Madden, they do some funny stuff. They just released the other day that Michael Thomas would be the last 99 player. And then they tweeted out something that said we had to give Michael Thomas a 99 so he'd quit crying. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, these guys are taking those Madden rankings way too seriously. But honestly, it's some garbage rankings this year. Like, bro, they're not even –
who's in charge of that, guys? Who's in charge?
They have Madden ratings adjusters that literally go to practices, go to games, watch players, watch what guys do, and write down things. And then they put together this whole analytical BS they say they do that produces an overall rating.
It is very taken very seriously. Like when they send a package to Christian McCaffrey, and because a lot of these football players play the game, and he's excited, so he opens it and sees his number, his rating. This is high business here.
Yeah, I understand all that, but what's the names of these guys that do this?
So Madden ratings adjuster.
The players
listen, personal names. And then they're taking personal people and they're rating them and they're saying how good they are, but they're not going to have enough guts to stand up and say, hey, I'm Joe Schmo and I went to your practice and I think that you're not that good. I mean, what kind of racket is this?
That's not how it works. We don't need
stand up like a man and take your medicine. When you rate somebody a 77, who we all know is better than that.
Let me explain something to you, Mac, about video games, okay? The fans take this stuff seriously, way more than the players. If a guy came out and said, I'm the one who ran the analytics and made Dalvin Cook a 92 instead of a 96, he'd have to worry that a bunch of Vikings fans would show up at his house. Not the player. Yeah, you can't do that. There's enough people camping on people's phones.
You say something, you take responsibility for it, right?
It's a process.
Do you not? I mean, listen. This sounds like a big.
It depends. It's
a big sham. I mean, you guys really take this seriously when you have a guy named Andy Butterfield from Missouri who goes over and watches the Arizona Cardinal quarterback play, and he says, well, he's good here, but he's not good there. Who the hell is this guy? Who cares what he says?
It's not that simple. You got to rate his speed, his agility, his everything. It's a process, man. This is a year-long process. Matt, listen, Matt, video games is high business. You probably know what esports is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, where people play for a living and make money doing this.
I understand that whole yakking.
Hey, Mac, if it makes you feel any better, they only ranked Saquon Barkley at 89. They didn't even give him a full 90.
Right, I understand that. Don't make me feel better. I'm saying, who is this guy, Joe Black from North Carolina, who thinks he knows more than people that actually run the football league? I mean, I think this is amazing and funny to me.
All right. Let me touch base on some other stuff before Matt gets mad and people fired and we don't have a game. So just keep an eye out, people. As soon as we get a release date for the PlayStation system, we'll start taking signups for Madden. All right.
So hey, real quick, Jim, I didn't know this. So some of these guys are most of these guys are former players, scouts, or college scouts.
There you go, Max. See, you got
They send them to games, practices. They have them interview players, watch practices, and review statistics, and come up with aggregates for these statistics.
Well, put your name out there. I can say I'm a former player.
I have one for you. His name is let me see. Okay. Not as far, Oklahoma State, blah, blah, blah. Their names are out there, this guy.
The names are there. You just got to look them up.
Anthony White, one of EA Sports Madden ratings adjusters.
Thank you.
The game with Giants rookie Saquon Barkley.
Anthony White.
When the city comes around, if you own a house, like when the guy comes around to my condo and does the assessment for the taxes every year, he doesn't tell me his name when he raises my taxes.
Yeah, but you can look it up online. So we found out one of the guys' names. I'm happy now.
All right, so let's talk about what we got coming up. We have an amazing week coming up for you guys because we have 2 guests every day. 2 guests. So if you get wearing down listening to Mac and I during the week, you get 2 guests. So tomorrow at 4:00, we got Michael Mazzio, who's a Nets insider for Mac. Who does he work for?
Oh, he's a Nets insider. He's working with the Nets organization. Right.
He's coming on, and he is going to give us the latest details on the Nets and let us know if he's suiting up, because I don't know who's suiting up for the Nets. So Michael Mazzio is coming on to give us some Nets insider, which is good because we've been trying to reach out to the Nets community. So he's on tomorrow at 4:00. And then tomorrow at 5:00, we have Dr. Paulson from the Start Spreading the News blog who's coming on, and he's going to discuss some sports with us. That's Monday, so you got 2 guests on Monday. Then on Tuesday, we got 2 guests. On Tuesday, we've got an interview with Reggie Johnson. So we got heavyweight boxing going to be represented again, and they might be coming straight from the ring. We're not sure yet with his fighter. And then at 5:00 on Tuesday, we have Lance Meadows, who's a Sirius radio host for the Mad Dog channel and hosts WFAN Giants and Big Blue Kickoff. So we have he's coming on Tuesday. And then if you hadn't had enough of all the guests, we got 2 guests on Wednesday. We got Steve Samarco, the Big Guy Sports personal Yankees insider, coming on, giving us the latest Yankees news and notes a day before the season kicks off. And then because, of course, we don't want to leave any team out, at 5:00, we got Rich Cottonhill coming on, who's the Mets insider, who's going to do our Mets inside reporting, hopefully permanently if we can convince him. But he's coming on to give us all the Mets news and notes because
and he might be right live.
ESPN.
Right live. He might be right live from the stadium, too.
Right, but over the phone. But he does the Mets inside reports for the ESPN New York radio station. So he's coming on, and he'll give you all the Mets' latest news and notes that you need 2 days before they open the season. So we got 2 guests every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we're going to be fully stocked up with guests. Then the baseball season starts Thursday, as long as like half the league doesn't test positive for coronavirus after these 2 games are played after today. Because that's what's going to happen. After today, they're going to play another practice game today. All the teams, some teams are sure. Then they're going to test everybody. And we're going to see how clean it is throwing around a baseball. And then if everyone's clean and the numbers are low, Thursday you'll be watching 7:00 opening night, Yankees versus the Nationals, followed by the Dodgers and the Giants, opening night. We've got people coming on all this week. We've got so many people we can't even fit anymore. We've filled up the schedule.
Calendar is full.
Yeah, the calendar is full for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We got someone in every hour. We've got You'll hear less and less of Mac and I, which for some could be a blessing, could be a curse.
They're probably happy about it.
Yeah, it all depends how you look at it. Cody likes Lance Meadows. He's excited, so tune in Tuesday because that's when he'll be here. Cody says go Nationals. I don't know if that's because he's a National fan or that's just because he's an anti-Yankee fan. I don't really know. We'll have to find out. But we got a lot of stuff coming up this week. We're going to –
Did you guys see Clint Frazier hit one to the upper deck wearing a mask yesterday?
I did see that. I didn't really care if he wears a mask or not. Like everyone making such a big deal about the mask. Like, oh, he wanted a mask. So you can't not hit a baseball just because he wears a mask. You either hit or you can't hit. I don't even care what Clint Frazier does because the Yankees don't know how to use him or appreciate him anyway. So
it looks like.
Listen, if you guys care that much about practice games, then it really shows me how worried you are about whether you'll be good during the regular season.
I'm wagging my finger at you, Mac. Listen, if they had won that game last night, Mac, it would have been a story.
I wouldn't have said anything because it's practice. What was I going to say? Oh, congratulations to the Mets for beating up the 18th string starting pitcher you started yesterday, who I didn't even know his name until I watched the game. And the Mets, Daniel Zamora in the ninth inning, who's not even going to be on the team. I mean, I don't care what these guys do. You want to take a positive from yesterday's game? I'll give you a positive from yesterday's for a Met fan. But Betances came in and threw a 1-2-3 inning and looked healthy. So I don't got everyone out. I care about the fact that he pitched and he didn't limp afterwards. So it's healthy. There's a positive for a Met fan. I mean, the Yankees, I don't take the practice games even when spring training goes any seriously because you never know who's playing. I mean, Aaron Judge wasn't there yesterday. So, I mean, you take it as what it is. If anything, I feel bad for Clint Frazier because every time Clint Frazier hits the field, whether it's in the regular game or practice game, he hits bombs and puts up numbers, and the Yanks can't find a spot for him, and they won't trade the poor guy so he could play every day and get themselves a starting pitcher. And poor Clint Frazier is wasting prime. I don't feel bad for Clint Frazier. The guy can ball, and and they don't let him play.
I don't feel bad for anybody who is honored enough to play for the Yankees.
Good. You know what? I hope I'm going to buy a cardboard cutout of your face, put it down the line, and I hope Stanton hits a line drive.
Blast it off there.
Breaks it in half. That way,
as long as I can keep the ball, I'll be happy. If it hits me, I want
Familia look good too.
Just real quick,
Met fans are looking for to see if the bullpen looks good in practice.
Definitely, 300%.
Diaz, I don't know what the hell they're looking at because Diaz let up like 3 base runners. He gave up a run. Diaz was a mess yesterday.
Yeah. What we got today? We got San Jose, Chicago in the MLS, and Seattle at Vancouver, guys. Rom is 12 under in the midfield.
What time is the Met Yankee game today? Is it 7 o'clock?
Yankee game today is going to be an evening game, I'm fairly certain.
And whatever happened to 1 o'clock games?
I'll let you know. Hold on, my friend. We don't have time for 1 o'clock games. We don't want 1 o'clock games right now. Too high.
I have time for 1 o'clock games.
Hey, by the way, I heard you complaining earlier in the show about your little 105-degree heat index. Okay, buddy. I don't want to hear it.
You can't complain though. You moved to Florida.
It's a 7:05. It's a 7:05 start tonight. By the way,
Florida and New Jersey. You moved to a state. You live in a state that's purposely hot all the time.
120 degrees when I get in my car out here. It's insane. And guess what, Jim? My AC went out in my Jeep the day before yesterday.
Roll the windows down like they used to.
Roll down the windows.
I got no AC. You think it matters here in Florida, buddy? Let me tell you something.
Have your wife stand next to you with one of those.
It feels like someone's blowing hot air into your window with a blower.
How long do you think people have been living in Florida when there wasn't no air conditioning, man?
Long time.
They still have houses here with no air conditioning. They tell you got to buy a unit, put it in the window.
Never.
That's insane. I would lose my mind.
Let me thank all the fans real quick who came in. But let me also say again, just keep an eye out on everything going on all the social medias, on the website, because I promise you, there's some big things in the work as far as programming notes and plans in the future and what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be laying it out to make sure we deliver the best product possible. And, things like that. There are changes coming, people who might be coming aboard. So there's a lot of good things coming up. So just keep an eye on it because a lot of things in August, the release of the apps, a lot of things coming in August.
Follow, share.
It's going to be hot. Don't send me messages in Czechoslovakian because I'm just going to delete them and block you because I don't understand it. So if you're going to send me something in a different language, at least send a translator with it or something I can click on that'll change the words over. Whatever
And
they have,
highlight, right click, translate.
yeah. I can't do all that. Thanks to everybody. We had a lot of people check in today. DJ,
Excellent.
DJ, Al, Justin, Cody, Tyrone. Matt even wrote a comment while he's on the show in the thing. Elijah, Tyrone, Cody,
I'm a man of the people.
Ruben. So many people. I got to scroll back. We appreciate the time you take out of your day. We'll be
Thanks,
back
guys.
tomorrow. Have fun. If you live in one of those states where it's 105 degrees, do what I'm going to do. Grab a Corona, put your feet up, put the air conditioner on, watch Netflix and sports. Don't go outside. You're just going to get hot, and then you're going to complain later that you're sweating.
Take a shower.
That's right, and be clean. That's
Have
right.
fun, guys.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.